Hello everyone and welcome back to C-Town Garage. I'm your host Seth. On today's episode, I'm going to be talking about how to get your key unstuck from the ignition when you do a manual transmission swap. So, to get started, basically what's going on here is I've done a 5-speed manual swap, or I'm in the process of it anyway. Well, obviously, I don't want the shifter, this guy, I don't want this in my steering column because it's not an automatic anymore, and I don't want to look at it. So, there's two ways to delete this. You can either A, unbolt this part and just take the arm off, and you can leave it in the ignition, or not in the ignition, in the column, and you can hide the remainder behind this shift boot. Okay, that's fine. That's fine. But they make another shift boot, or not even a shift boot, a column trim that alleviates the boot portion of it and just makes it so it's a blank to at least fill the hole. Now, if you want that, you're going to want to do what I did and take the whole shifter assembly out. Okay? To take it out, you've got a pin. You can see it right there. There's a pin. You have to drive it from the bottom. So down here, you want to drive it from the bottom up and out. And then this guy will literally just slide out. There is a spring behind it, obviously, so it can snap back. I just left the spring in there for now. And then you just slide it out. Okay, boom, that's done. Great. Now you think you're done. You're not done. What happens is you'll take your key, you're going to put your key in the ignition like normal, okay? Right now, everything works good. You're going to cycle the key forward, whatever you want to do, first test drive, whatever. You're going to get back from your test drive. You're going to go to shut the key off. Notice how the key didn't rock all the way back? Oh no, my key's stuck. I can't get the key out. What do? Well, most people think it's a tumbler issue. It's not a tumbler issue, okay? So, I'm going to show you why this happens and how to fix it. So to start, remove your airbag. It's you see those four black slots in the corners. Okay, on the back side of the steering wheel, there's 4 little holes, and you got to take something, whether it be an Allen wrench, or like myself, I took a punch. If it matters, it's a 5/32 punch, and just kind of felt around in there, and you're going to feel the little tabs that you got to push, and they will release the airbag. The airbag will come off. You've got 4 clips on the airbag, or not 4, 2 clips on the airbag, one here, one here. Please make sure that your battery is disconnected and at least give a few minutes, whether that be 5 or 10 or whatever. I've had 48 hours of no battery, so I'm perfectly safe. Before you ever disconnect an airbag, because that airbag, if it's energized and you disconnect it, could be just enough to trip it and blow that airbag. Mind you, 200 mile per hour of an airbag that you're holding in your hand, it's going to hurt. Okay, so now your airbag's off. Now you got to get your steering wheel off. Okay, first things first for the steering wheel. Obviously, you've got to disconnect if you have controls, you've got to disconnect the controller, which will be right here. You'll disconnect it from there, from the clock spring. And then you're going to have this ground that's going to be right on this little screw here, which is a T20. Don't undo that. Take the ground off, whatever. Yeah. And then you got to disconnect the horn from the airbag. Now I'm looking at this again, and I realized that you don't actually have to take that ground wire off. You can leave the ground wire attached. Sorry. And then it's going to take, there's going to be a T45 star bit nut that's going to be in the center. And what I do, and you don't have to do it this way, is I break it loose and turn it out a couple threads. And then in this case, since I don't have a seat or anything, I grabbed the steering wheel on both sides and basically just kind of rocked it from side to side while pulling really hard and got it to break the seal on this tapered shaft a little bit to where it could come off. The correct way to do it would be to get a steering wheel puller and do it correct and push against here and take it off. That's fine. One way or another, the steering wheel has to come off. Okay, so now your steering wheel's off, you're here, you can see what's going on. Okay, next step, we need to take the clock spring off. I'm going to say this now. When you remove this, do not rotate this section or this section extremely far, because it is limited to only travel so many revolutions, because there's ribbon cables inside here, ribbon cables inside here that are very fine and will break. Ask me how I know. This is the second one I've had to put on. You learn after the first one. But anyway, so now we've got to take the clock spring off to gain access further back to be able to fix the key issue. So to start, I've just got this little, I believe it's for Dutch connectors and so forth, but I just use it because it's got a small flat head on this side, and then it's kind of got a little bit of a pick on this side. Just kind of a multi-purpose tool for my use. Basically, all you need is it to be a small flat blade on the end. So whether it just be one of them pocket screwdrivers or whatever, it'll work fine. But this is what I'm going to use. So to start, we're going to come right here to the connector for the clock spring. I'm going to take my screwdriver here. I'm going to go up in the slot, push it back, and pull, if it'll do it, pull the connector down. You might have to shimmy it a little bit and pull it down. Okay, it's down. All right, that's first step. Second step, you're going to have three provisions. One here, and one right there. Okay, what they are is there's little locking tabs in there that hold the clock spring to a metal plate on the back. Ideally, this would be great if you had two hands. Obviously, I do not, so I'm going to give this my best shot. I'm going to start on the bottom. You want to be flat, and it's hard to see, but you see the metal piece that's in there? It's basically, if I can move my screwdriver, it's right there, metal piece. You want to go flat blade, and you want to go underneath it. Okay, maybe. Yep, it went. Okay, so you got the bottom one undone, and you kind of want to apply some pressure. You know, like I said, two hands would be great for this. I only have the one, so okay, you got the bottom one done. You're gonna come to the side. Now you're gonna go above this metal piece, and you want to push in, and it'll come free. And then you're going to come to the top here. And this one, you want to shoot for the side. And my stuff is snapping back together. Okay, so this one, you want to go to the right side of the metal, push in, and hold. You know, I've got a finger here kind of holding it out. This one, you want to go above the metal. Okay, and it's pulled out. And then down here, you want to go below that as best as you can. Okay. As you can see, as soon as I released all 3 tabs, it pops out. Okay. So now, what I do for this is I'm going to take the clock spring, pull it straight off. Okay. Nice and easy. Okay. The best thing I can do is take this center section and roll it over to where both of those arrows are basically pointing at each other, which you don't have to. I just do it for my own peace of mind. And then you take it right here and you set it on the dash very carefully so you don't turn nothing. Leave it the heck alone so you don't mess it up. All right. Now we are to where we need to be to get stuff figured out. So the first thing we're going to do is you're going to have a T20 screw right here. It is torqued down a little bit. So what I did is I took a T20 screwdriver, clamped a vice grip to it, and broke it free, took the vice grip off, and then took the screwdriver the rest of the way. So I'm going to take my T20 screwdriver. We're going to unscrew this plate. There is a small spring behind here, so just pay attention. Okay, that's all the plate is, just a flat plate with a couple little ears on it. I'm going to set that down here so it's out of the way. We're going to take this spring, take it out, set it down with the hardware down there. Okay, now we are to the point where we should be able to figure out what is going on. Now, to make this better understood for everybody is you've got this guy right here. And what this guy does is it slides forward and slides back. That's all it does. But in the purpose of the job, there is a pin that it goes over top of. And then there's also a pin it's just one pin that it goes over top of when you turn the key forward. And then when you turn the key back, it's supposed to come far enough back to where it is not over that pin anymore. But when the shifter is in here, the shifter gives it that little bit more that it needs, because as you can see, it's still in there a little ways. Well, it needs to be, I'll pull it out to there. Oh, look at that. My key rocked back, and now I can take my key out. Okay? So, what we're going to do is, essentially, you need to take this guy out. But before we can do that, you need to take the shift interlock solenoid out, so it doesn't bind on that, because there is also a little pin that comes up and locks it in there as well, which also helps it so when it comes all the way back into park, it can't slide forward too far to prevent you from getting your key out. So with that, the very first thing we are going to do is we are going to disconnect it. Now mind you, when you do your brake pedal switch and stuff like that, this is already not hooked up anymore, so you're not hurting anything here, okay? So technically, this doesn't have to be unplugged to work anymore. But for my case, I just don't want it in here anymore because it serves no purpose, so we're going to take it out. So first things first, you are going to come right here with your small screwdriver. You're going to push out, and you're going to see that this guy comes down a little bit. Okay, it's down. Now, you're going to see on the side, you've got this part right here, and then there's like a little wall on the inside. Okay, my outer portion here is broke for some reason. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my screwdriver, I'm going to sling in here and grab behind that wall, and you're going to pry outward, until that guy comes all the way out. Now granted, normally that would fall, being my hand's not there, but in this case it didn't. Okay, that's your shift interlock solenoid. Literally all it is it's just something that gets energized and the pin gets sucked in, and then when it's not energized, it kicks back out. Okay, that's all it is. But either way, when that pin's up, it makes issues for everybody. So shift interlock is out. It's not going back in. Now we're going to take, I just used the T20 screwdriver and kind of go in and push to the side a little bit so it kind of holds it in two places. And then I'm just going to pull out. Okay. So that is that little mechanism. As you can see, that's the cutout for where the shift lever hooks into it. And if I could turn it, that is the hole that is for the shift interlock solenoid. And then, like I said, you can see it's kind of tapered on the end. That's tapered to be able to go over. You can see the pin that's in there. Goes down, disappears when the key's cycled forward, comes back up when the key isn't off. If that guy cannot come all the way up, you will not be able to get your key back out. Okay, because it won't fully come back. So basically, when it stops, normally, so like this is where it stops when that piece is still in there. This is where it needs to be. So when it's like that, you can see the pin is down too far and is not allowing everything to go back to where it needs to be to get your key out. But if you're doing a manual swap and you want the shifter column gone, this is what you need to do to not have your key get stuck in the ignition. Or you just simply leave the shifter, the whole shifter in there, or just half the shifter in there, so that something is at least actuating this guy so that it at least gets out of the way of the pin. In my case, this is a lot easier, in my opinion, to just eliminate it altogether, because I also plan to take this whole unit and this piece here completely out. I don't want any of that in here. I mean, heck, if I could figure out a way to get rid of the gear selection, I would. But in this case, I don't care. It can stay there, and it can stay on one low gear all the time, and that'll be just fine for me. But hopefully this helps you out.